The windmill provided enormous advantages in grain grinding, although it did not lead to the abandonment of older milling systems, like the hand mill and the flour mill, which continued to be used at domestic level and in periods of absence of winds. The hand mill has been the most used milling system in the history of Fuerteventura, from Aboriginal times to the 20th century. On the ground floor of the mill is the flour outlet pipe. There, Jorge places the bag in which the resulting product from grinding will be collected. On the upper floor, under the wooden hood or cap of the mill, the grinding machine is located, which has hardly any metal parts. The miller pours the contents of the sack into the hopper and releases the brake holding the sprocket. Then, when they are released, the blades of the mill start moving due to the strong prevailing winds on the island. The axis of the blades, which is also common for the sprocket, transmits movement to it, supplying the energy needed to operate the complex gear, whose function is to multiply the force of rotation of the blades and transmit it to the stone crusher to produce the grinding. The grain deposited in the hopper goes to the chute, which, with a back and forth motion caused by the rotation of a square axis, takes it in measured steps to the grinding wheels. There are two millstones, one mobile or milling, and the other fixed. The grain that has entered between the grinding wheels is crushed by the weight of the millstone, which is in a continuous turning motion on the fixed one. The friction of the stones turns the roasted grain into gochio, which is expelled through tiny channels in the stones to fall into the sack, hanging at the end of the wooden tube on the lower floor. The slower the grinding, the better the aroma, flavor, and texture will have the gochio flour. But what most influences the grinding, it is the state of conservation of the stones and the roughness of the surfaces in contact. Jorge has finished grinding the sacks of grain he had prepared. To prevent the island's strong winds cause breakages in the blades, the miller folds the tarps, and when he has to put them, the mill is back in operation. It will deploy them again. The traditional windmill, called on the island of Fuerteventura, mail mill. It is crowned by the wooden cap that rotates by means of the tail or rudder, guiding the blades to the wind. Although most windmills had 4 blades, there were some with 6. These were constituted by a wooden structure on which a canvas fabric. The mill, built on a wooden tower. It is more modern than the mill and was designed by Isidoro Ortega in the 19th century. It has the advantage over the mill of gathering on a single floor the activities of grinding and grain handling, which prevents the miller from work of going up and down stairs with the load of the sacks. Every time the bag is used, it must be cleaned with gofio powder and rub it so that it doesn't get moldy. It is then rolled up and tied for storage until used again. Gofio is still part of the festival, of the social events of the mayoreros. By himself, Gofio unites the Canarian people and unites them in a common culture. Gofio cannot be conceived without mills. The Island Council of Fuerteventura, with the intention of recovering this important part of the cultural heritage of the island, has restored several windmills that rise above the territory as silent witnesses of a long period of island history.